is the HOPWA Project-Based Rental Assistance PBRA pilot program. And housing is healthcare. You must have read a lot, heard about, but becomes so much important as we talked about the special needs housing program with HOPWA, where it is said by Dearval Murphy that the primary and essential function of housing to provide a safe and sheltered place is absolutely fundamental to the people's health and well-being. I always say that housing is also a fundamental right. We're talking about HOPWA, which is an acronym that stands for Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and the LIHTC program, which is the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program. HOPWA is a federally funded program, and we have quoted the link to the ECFR, where you can find more about this federal grant, which is a law. And it is the program under the Housing and Urban Developments, and where all the contents and details are cited in this link. And we can share this PowerPoint, correct, Harika? Yes, thank you.
Yes, we can.
Yes. So what is HOPWA? As I mentioned, that it is the housing opportunity for persons living with HIV/AIDS, and it is the only HUD-funded grant which is specifically to provide housing for persons living with HIV/AIDS. The program provides not only housing, but it also provides the other supportive services and resources to meet the housing needs of this population.
Arvinda?
Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is HOPWA? As we mentioned, it is the federal grant, and housing and supportive services are the services that are eligible activities under HOPWA. The reason for providing this grant is to provide stable housing for persons living with HIV/AIDS so that they can access health and medical care services. Next slide, please. So what are the eligibility criteria? There are only 2 eligibility criteria with regard to the HOPWA program. One is that at least one person living in the household must have a diagnosed HIV diagnosis or AIDS diagnosis, and they should have the proof of diagnosis. And the second is proof of income, and the income eligibility is up to 80% of the area median income. Even persons with no income or zero income are eligible to receive HOPWA services. Next slide, please. HOPWA has different eligible activities with regard to housing and supportive services, and I'm going to talk about the funding priorities as accepted or as approved by DCA. The first is the permanent housing programs, which includes the tenant-based rental assistance program, followed by project-based, project-based and facility-based housing, which is the master leasing by the agencies that receive the funding. And the third is project-based rental assistance program, or PBRA. This is a pilot initiative. This year only we have included this in our funding priorities. We are not currently funding any agency for the PBRA program. So we are talking about today the pilot initiative. Followed by permanent housing programs, the next category that is being prioritized is permanent housing placement. permanent housing placement includes the rent and utility deposit assistance, plus the first month rent assistance for people who are moving into permanent housing. Most of the time, permanent housing placement is also linked with the permanent housing programs, which is number one category to assist with deposit payments, because the permanent housing programs do not cover any deposit assistance. Third priority category is homeless prevention services that include short-term rent, mortgage, and utility assistance for persons who are either behind or need assistance to stay current. Next slide, please. The fourth category, priority category under HOPWA program through DCA is the emergency or short-term housing. This is for people who do not have access to housing, and they can be in a compromising situations, and they need to get out of it. HOPWA can assist with short-term housing up to 2 months or 60 days. While they work on getting into more permanent housing. Followed by this is the supportive services category, and DCA funds the following supportive services to the funded agency, including case management, meals and nutritional services, transportation assistance, mental health and substance abuse treatment. Mental health and substance abuse treatment is only funded through HOPWA if other funds are not available. Generally, we do collaborate with the Rhine-wide program that provides the healthcare or HIV treatment care to these participants, and many times these services are covered by them. If those resources are not available and the client needs that services, the agency funded or can apply for funding under HOPWA supportive services. The sixth priority category, is housing information and referral services. This service assists the HOPWA eligible participant to find housing, and the program can assist them by helping them link them with the housing resources and help them get into housing. Resource identification is more at a macro level, where more relationships with the housing partnerships are maintained or developed to assist the HOPWA eligible participant find affordable housing. Next slide, please. This, previous, please. Next. Okay. So these are the HOPWA programs in the state of Georgia. As we mentioned earlier, HOPWA is a federal grant through HUD, and these are the four currently funded entities in the state of Georgia. HOPWA funds both the states and the cities with the funds to provide services in the community. The Georgia Department of Community Affairs receives the funding as a state agency to cover 125 counties of the state outside the city of Atlanta, city of Marietta, and city of Augusta jurisdiction, because these cities get their direct funding from HUD. City of Atlanta now receives funding to cover 29 counties, but of that, 5 counties, city of Marietta is receiving the funding directly to cover those 5 counties. And city of Augusta received funding to cover the 5 Augusta-Richmond counties and 2 counties in the South Carolina area. So that's how the federal HOPWA grant comes to the state of Georgia. Next slide, please. This is our HOPWA coverage map. all the colored region that you see is the area that is funded by DCA. And there is a outlined area in big, which shows it's a maroon color outline area that shows the area covered by City of Atlanta area. This also includes the counties in green over here that will be covered by City of Marietta. They're working on starting their program. The blue outline here is the City of Augusta region that is funded by them. With DCA being the state agency, we can provide funding to the entire state, and we do provide the support to the cities as needed. So that is why you will see the colored areas in the other cities' jurisdiction as well as a part of support services. Different colors actually covers the regions that HOPWA-funded HOPWA sponsors cover. All of our providers are regional providers. That means they have a big 10 and 10 plus counties as their service area. This chart shows the funding amounts and their service area here. Next slide, please.
All right, and I think this is where I hop in. So of course, what we're here talking about today is our pilot project, which is HOPWA PBRA in partnership with our existing LIHTC properties. Again, LIHTC, low income housing tax credit, is how our state has built being more affordable housing than any other type of program that we offer. So we're really excited about this partnership. And excited to get a little bit into it. Okay, so what is HOPWA PBRA? One of the most important notes is that the difference between a lot of the other available activities that HOPWA can do, we're choosing PBRA because it's actually tied to the unit versus to the tenant. And we understand that providing dedicated units helps ensure an easier transition for the HOPWA clients and long-term stability. Another good thing is tenants will be clients of the HOPWA sponsors. So please remember that there are criteria to be in the HOPWA program. One of those is that 80% AMI. So if that can help assist you with, qualifying a tenant or knowing if they would qualify for your property, just know there's income eligibility that is tied with that program as well. Your HOPWA sponsors will be your referring entity. So they're going to be sending you potential tenants that are based on that criteria and any that you really come up with. So if you have a 40 at 60, I'm pretty sure they can work through your MOU to designate how those transfers will come over. And then again, with PBRA, the HOPWA project sponsor will pay a portion of the rent, and then the tenant will pay a portion of the rent. So you're able to get up to fair market rates here. But again, that will be something that is identified through your contract and MOU, which we will get into a little bit more. So these are our two HOPWA sponsors that we identified. Again, they were based on location. Union Mission is in the southeast of Georgia, so they cover Chatham, Bryan, and Effingham counties. And then we have the Dalton Whitfield Community Development Corporation that is covering the north. Of course, in a pilot, you want to test if there will be any regional differences. Of course, these two organizations also were highlighted because they have the capacity. They have experience with HOPWA and TBRA and being able to execute the program. So we are very confident that any of our LIHTC owners and developers who decide to go down this pilot with us, you are in good hands with these providers. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. We do have eligibility requirements in terms of that LIHTC property. First is location. Of course, since we are working with two HOPWA project sponsors, one in the north, one in the southeast, you have to be in the eligible counties. Of course, we have them listed here. It's in the RFP, but if you have any questions, please feel free to email. Next, we want them to be active LIHTC properties. As we get further into our slides, we will go over the tier system or the scoring, but you have to be an active LIHTC property. And so that means within that 30-year affordability period. When it comes to compliance, of course, we want to see that the property has no uncorrected 8823s. Of course, this goes into making sure this property is willing and ready to accept any of the referrals we have coming in. I think in the last year, HOPWA has also switched to the Inspire model. And as you know, DCA for our LIHTC program, that is also the current model. So it should align with whatever you already have, which we're, as you see on the next slide. And then lastly, we are requiring that an MOU and a contract be created between the HOPWA project sponsor and the property. We will go into what is the difference, why both, a little bit later in the slides, but please understand that those are requirements. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the tiers. So this is really how we're identifying the best case uses or properties for this pilot. And so again, tier 1, we want this to be somewhat of a preservation strategy for our LIHTC portfolio. So tier 1, we're asking if an existing LIHTC property that is committed to applying for the 2026 4% LIHTC competitive round. Applications are due September 25th, Kim. And again, we will drop the QAP webpage that has, you know, if you look at our QAP, it lists out the important dates, all the criteria that we as DCA will look at when scoring those properties. So that will be separate outside of you applying for the HOPWA PBRA pilot, but please familiarize yourself with that process. Tier 2, we're looking for any recently placed in service properties. So that is, we're looking for 5 years or newer. If you've had a 2020 allocation or newer. So if you look at your Georgia ID, and again, it's 2021 or newer, then you can fit within tier 2. Now, tier 3 is kind of that catch-all. So all existing LIHTC properties in the compliance period, not meeting tier 1 or tier 2. So in the compliance period, of course, means you're not coming back in for resyndication or the 4% tax credit round. So we don't want to see you, you know, at year 26 trying to apply for this program. We want you in that compliance period, which is that first 15, if you do not meet tiers 1 or 2. So if anyone has had the opportunity to look at the RFP, of course, we have our scoring criteria. Now, I've put the points on here. Please know that they will add up to 100. And for each one of these, this may get a little, you know, dense, but I want to go into each criteria just to tell you what we're looking for. So for management, company, and owner experience, we are looking for a narrative, 2-page max. And what we really want to see is your experience working with a vulnerable population. That could be unhoused individuals, persons with disabilities, veterans, etc. We just want to show or see evidence, again, that you have worked with vulnerable populations and understand the needs. For referrals and services, this is another narrative, 2-page max. And again, we want to see your experience working with or coordinating with service providers or referral agencies. That could be anything from the COC, HUD 811, HOPWA even. But we want to see that you have or at least understand how referrals will happen or if you have any experience doing that. Property and unit criteria, this is more so about, is the property and unit prepared to accept a new tenant? Being a LIHTC property, we would assume so, but So for this one, we just want you guys to submit your most recent closeout letter from the Office of Portfolio Management. You receive those during your 3-year inspection cycle. And basically that will show that you have no uncorrected non-compliance. In that you're all good. The property is good, you're meeting Inspire. For these newer properties, if you have not had an inspection just yet, you can just write us a letter certifying that you have not had an inspection, and that will suffice. We will do an inspection on the unit for the HOPWA PBRA before the tenant is moved in. So no need to worry about that. But if you've had an inspection, everything is clear, please let us know that. If you do have questions about a recent inspection that you may have had, you can always email your compliance officer or that OPM email box, compliance@dca.ga.gov. All right, property location and accessibility, 10 points. This one, LIHTC property, should be easy. We just want a site map where you identify some of the community resources and services. That's things from like hospitals, grocery stores, transit, pretty much standard to how a LIHTC application would be submitted. And then for PBRA or PBV experience, 20 points. So again, another big one. And this one is another narrative. We want to see if the owner and or property manager has experience with a project-based rental assistance program. One that instantly comes to mind, of course, is HCV PBVs, Housing Choice Voucher, project-based vouchers. A lot of acronyms. But if there are others that you have worked with, you can submit submit your narrative, but any of those contracts, submit those to supplement or support what you're saying in your narrative. Okay, immediate occupancy and availability. Again, we are looking for a minimum of 5 units and up to 15. And so just a lease-up plan on how do you think that process will go. Time frames, things like that, because what we don't want is to award a property and it's 3 years before you can actually fill those units. So we understand that the unit turnover will happen through like natural attrition, people moving out, but give us to your best guess, what do you think that lease-up plan will look like, and then submit that. And finally, your tenant selection plan. You can submit the current tenant selection plan for the property. All LIHTC properties have to have one. And for this one, we're just really trying to see that it provides a low barrier, following the housing priorities and guiding principles of the HOPWA program. So making sure that it is accessible and meeting the needs of the population. So, excuse me, you've been awarded and everything is great. We are moving through our pilot. So there are some post-award due diligence items that we would need. Talked about or referenced the contract earlier. So what this is, and let me preface that we are drafting a template that we want to give our project sponsors and property owners as, again, a template, but if anything, a starting point. If you want to add things to it, that is there. But the contract is mainly about the specific units that you are reserving for HOPWA clients, rent payments, things like that. So it is the very formal process of setting aside those units. Now, this will be in comparison to the MOU. So the MOU, which we do have guidance on DCA's website, if you look up MOUs for our integrated supportive housing, you're able to see, some of the required and recommended actions But your MOU is basically outlining how the project sponsor will refer units, how the owner, property owner, management company will notify the project sponsor about units. So again, most important thing about this is that we expect the MOUs to be executed by October 1st. So review the guidance. If you have any questions, please email. But again, that's one of the high priority items because it is going to be due October 1st. Compliance. Now, if you look at the RFP, there is no section that says compliance. So I just added a few just as a category. But when I think of compliance, number one, rents. So your rents must align with HUD's fair market rents requirements. That's bar stop right there. That's number one. Property inspections, the units must be able to pass an Inspire inspection. As we know, that's the way we're going, before your PBRA contract is executed. So you win the pilot, you win the award, you're selected, your unit has to be ready to pass that Inspire inspection before we can really move forward with the process. Okay, and then lastly, there is a vacancy clause in the RFP, and that just basically says that once the owner notifies the project sponsor of an upcoming vacancy, there's at least a 45-day hold period. But again, as you work through your MOUs, that 45-day period is guardrails. You, as the project sponsor, property owner, can decide what that time frame looks like. Next up, services. So if you look at the RFP, I'm going to read this verbatim because this is very important. The owner and property management company must cooperate with the HOPWA project sponsor and service provider to provide access to the property as needed for resident services. So it is small little line, but it is very important that if we are moving HOPWA clients onto your property, that again, the service provider and or the HOPWA project sponsors have access, can easily make appointments, things like that. And for the properties who are thinking of coming in for the 4% tax credit round, very important note here, there is no subsidy-led review required. So those in underwriting may love that. All right, and rounding it out, just iterating some important dates here. And of course, all of these dates can be found on the RFP. We are in our first informational session here. But again, if you have time now that you've sat through the informational session and you read the RFP a little bit closely and you have questions, we do have another one on August 4th, same time. So please come back if you do have questions. Again, we are here to assist. All applications will be due August 17th, and I am sure that we chose an 11:59 p.m. deadline, but I will get that clarified. And then we're looking to make our award announcements September 1st, and then here's that August 1st date again. So all your post-award due diligence due October 1st. Again, that is MOUs, contracts, most importantly. Now, for Lisa, yes, we have October 1st, because that's when the HOPWA funding cycle starts. But we know that these units are going to, through natural attrition of tenants. So we're giving a little breathing room. So you really have until December 31st. But please remember that you're uploading your lease-up plan, and we want the units filled as soon as possible. So please do not see the December 31st as like, I don't have to worry about it. As soon as possible, reiterate it in your lease-up plan. And because again, we are trying to fill the units, and this is a dedicated source of funding, right? And with that, I want to say thank you, and I will pass it back to Harvinder.
Thank you so much, Dylan. And I want to reiterate that the time and date, as you mentioned, as August 17th at 11:59 p.m. is correct. Thank you. Yeah, at this point, we will open up for any questions.
And I will just throw in here. Hi, Amanda. I know you said that you're on the gig housing team. And I know you guys are probably working with developers, getting your LIHTC letter of support, all of those things. If you know any developers and you think they would be interested, feel free to pass this information along. Especially if you have, again, any of our older LIHTC properties in your community, or the eligible communities, let me say that. Let them know that this is an opportunity to enter into this HOPWA pilot. And again, it is a great resource for every community has HOPWA eligible clients. To some certain degree. So ensuring that there's accessibility to safe, stable housing is the goal. So it would align with your gig housing plans.
Absolutely. And I have my own business as well. I'm also the Chamber of Commerce president and CEO. And so my business, Georgia Community Works, I work with communities all over the state, doing community transformation plans, community revitalization plans. So I wanted to just sit in and make sure I understood and just had that knowledge because I've worked with communities in Effingham County, Bryan County. So I thank you for making that notation, and I will be sure to share with those developers that I do have a relationship with. So thank you.
Of
Yeah,
course.
that's great. And I was actually going to request Dylan, if you can put the slide with the counties that we are looking for properties in back as a reminder and emphasis.
And second. It's going to be a lot of scrolling really quickly.
Just missed that.
Yeah, Whitfield, Floyd. So I know Rome, Dalton, and then those areas near Savannah.
Oh, am I just?
It was after the, here you go.
There it is.
Yes. And I see that Reed Fincher from Dalton Whitfield Community Development Corporation, he has also joined the call here. So he's here to cover the area for HOPWA services in Floyd and Whitfield. The whole idea is the HOPWA program. As Dylan mentioned, these participants will be the clients of these two HOPWA sponsors, and they will be the one who will be making the referrals for these properties and placements, as well as paying the rent based client, while the clients will be paying the rent based on their income. The difference will be paid out of the HOPWA program by these sponsors directly to the property. And these clients will be receiving all supportive services through these agencies. So that's a great partnership you would like to, or a property owners would like to have with these HOPWA sponsors, so that their participants or households that are housed at their property are fully covered.
And I just want to throw a quick, I don't know what I want to call this, kind of congratulations to Harvinder and her team. There are no other counties that we could find that was using HOPWA PBRA as an eligible activity. So this is truly this team's goal of providing more stability in seeing how it works. So really appreciate the work they're doing, and of the project sponsors who are willing because again, we are all in housing in some form or fashion, and knowing stably housed is the best type of housed. So just a shout out, and as you tell other developers, as you spread the word about what this program is, there may be some confusion because they haven't heard of it before. But again, that is to Harvinder and her teams for being innovative and utilizing the resources that we have to be that much more effective to serve our populations.
Thank you so much, Dhiren. It is in line with DCA's vision and mission with all our programs that are we have at DCA to work in integration, and it's an integrated partnership between the LIHTC group and the HOPWA program. And Dylan is certainly correct that there is no other HOPWA PBRA program that we are aware of at present in the whole nation. So if we will start this pilot, it would be first of the kind. It is an eligible activity, but there's not any program that is being run in the country.
Sorry about that quick flash, but I wanted to make sure that we gave one last look at both Harvinder and Ayana's information in case you guys have any questions. They've listed their emails and telephone numbers just in case.
Please reach out to us, email us if you have any questions. Thank you. If none, we can, I'll say to conclude today's information session, and we will be back on August 4th at the same time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda. Bye, everyone.